Rise, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here. We are back for episode 29 of The Rise. This one is called Enemy at the Gates. And if you like what we do here and you want to support this channel, the best way to do that is like these fine folks over on our Patreon, link in the description down below. While you're down there, click on that link, join us in the Discord, be a part of the community, be a part of the conversation. And as always, in the bottom right-hand corner, you will find our self-sacrificing players donating to the corruption bar. That bar serves two purposes. One is when that bar fills, every single dollar that goes back into that bar goes back to this channel for all kinds of things. And two, I get to unleash horrible things on my players. And they're at war right now. Well, they're characters. I mean, sometimes it's their players. Sometimes I traumatize the players as well. But mostly it's their characters. They are currently at war, besieged on all sides in some sort of offensive. So that's where we are. How are you?
Mike had me roll dice, and I'm terrified.
I did. I randomly said, hey, G, roll me a d20 and call high or low. And then she did. And I said, great, roll me 2d10s. And she has no idea why.
You went LOL.
Yeah, I said LOL, thanks. So that's how this episode started. For G, specifically. That being said, previously on The Rise, Seydlitz, which is the hardest name to say, Seydlitz's forces have been spotted mere days outside the city walls. With a siege imminent, all of Samora's forces were on the highest alert. Unfortunately, the first attack came from within, as the Knights of Reconciliation launched an all-out offensive within the walls, branding all citizens as heretics. The assault was coordinated side by side with the dragon's favored, as Rastaban used his shadows to darken the city, and Eltanen was forced into single combat with Antares. It has been several days since the offensive against the Knights of Reconciliation. There has been a civil order has sort of passed through the city. Rescue efforts have been made for buildings that were decimated in the fighting. There has been a unceremonious, unsanctimonious burial of quite a number of Knights of Reconciliation. And on order of General Antares, there have been several Knights of Reconciliation that surrendered peacefully, that are now currently stripped of title, rank, armor, weaponry, etc., that are now imprisoned in the jails underneath the castle of Samora, in the dungeon of Queen Etain. My first question for you guys, actually, the setup here for all of you, this is what you know as generals of this war. You are besieged on all sides by Seydlitz's forces. By and large, what you have been able to find out is that they are made up primarily, like in the 80+%, of the military force of Chrysaorch. What that means for you, since this is a primarily reanimated force of soldiers, they do not need to eat, sleep, or breathe. Therefore, this siege is incredibly dangerous because it can last indefinitely. After the attack from the Knights was cleared up, and before Seydlitz's forces had time to completely surround the city, an effort was made to escort as many people out of the North Gate as possible, and towards the holdfasts. Unfortunately, with the forces closing in, you have no idea if the people that made it out made it to the holdfast or were waylaid in the interim. That being said, if any of you had people you would have wanted to get out through the North Gate as a last attempt to flee the city, you may have that happen, and we'll test fate and see if they made it. As far as things go currently, the city is under siege, but not under attack. The forces are just sort of hanging out because they can forever until you all starve to death. So there is no expedience in this war. They seem to be confident in their ability to wait you out. That being said, what are all of you doing? What have you been doing for the past several days? So, what are you guys doing?
What are their numbers?
From scout reports on the castle walls, they number in the thousands.
Okay.
This is not like a scouting or expeditionary force. This is absolutely like siege of Paris. We're coming to get you. Like, we're surrounding your city on all sides.
And do they have siege weapons?
As far as you have seen, they do not. At least not in the front lines of where you are.
Okay. Well, that's good at least. What has Antares been up to? So it's been like 3 days?
It has been about 3 days. Yep.
Okay.
Feel free to jump in, anybody. You're all here in the city. You're all besieged together.
Seydlitz would have made sure Fernand and his sister didn't try to leave last minute.
Okay, so you want them to stay in the city?
No, he wants them to leave. He's just making sure they had already left.
Sure. Was the plan for them to leave? I know Fernand's plan was to leave.
That's what Selena had told Seydlitz.
Great. Perfect. Then yes, they left before the attack.
I think they would have left before, before you went on while you were gone on your hunt.
Yeah.
No, they were there when you got back.
So they left. They either left right before or right after the attack, which means they would have left before the siege wrapped the city, but you would not have any unless they send notice back somehow. You have no idea if they got to Tunabar Holdfast. And as far as everyone, actually, I feel like that's fair enough knowledge for all of you to know. Being in a siege, you know that getting word in and out via like Raven or something like that, some sort of traveling aviary, would be very difficult because the sieging forces would likely shoot it out of the sky. So getting word in or out of the city is next to impossible in this moment. So I will say, Seydlitz, your house is clear. Everyone has left. They have all piled onto your brother-in-law's wagon and have absconded with whatever amount of guard they could afford. And they are making their way to Tunabar Holdfast. Corax, Mina, Antares.
Corax has been checking over the walls and the gates. He's been working with like the Masons Guild or anything like that to make sure that the reconciliators haven't damaged the walls, they haven't damaged the gates, and that the city's normal defenses are still in place and haven't been tampered with. He would have spent as much time as he needed to check everything.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, you have gone over as much structural integrity as possible. As far as you can tell, with what little knowledge you have of the before, the after seems pretty much the same. Your best guess is that the Knights of Reconciliation's attack was not designed to weaken the defenses of the city, more to instill fear, chaos, loss of life, and just sort of sow dissent from within, sort of thing, like a hopelessness effect. So as far as you can tell, everything is as it was. The Alchemists Guild have created your orders of what we'll call Greek fire for now until I come up with a better name for it. Actually, we'll call it Balefire.
Fire.
What is it? Samoran fire? Balefire is what it's going to be called. I just thought of that one. Balefire. Yeah, they have created your orders of Balefire. It is mounted smartly, not like in big giant stockpiles, but like small areas far enough away from the wall that is easily transportable. And you have checked the underground tunnels. They have been guarded, as you have expected. And I will note that because you specifically mentioned it in the last session, um, an advanced scouting party of reanimated Chrysaorich forces were killed at the entrance to the underground tunnels. So you are aware that Jasith knows about the tunnels and had immediately attempted to use them. They were stopped, and there have been forces guarding that constantly.
Perfect.
Mina, what about you?
Mina's been very busy. He has met with all the generals since he's the reserve force. He's given them instructions on how to contact him to let him know when they need reinforcements. So he's got those plans in place. He's met with Arua, given her the same instructions on how to contact him should she need him. And he has been meeting with one by one with everyone in Wexy's guard company and asking them to swear on Wexy's shield that they will protect the city. And he in turn swears that he will protect them.
Okay, interesting. Mina, you have put in a request, a quartermaster's request. Your request has been accepted, and the order has been commissioned and sent to the guard company. Could you tell us what you've commissioned, and tell me what you're doing with it?
So Mina, being a tailor of note, used some of his tailoring contacts to learn what the best polishing cloth is. And upon learning what it was, he got in as much of it as possible. And the downtime activity for his troops is to polish their shields front and back to the highest shine possible.
For no reason.
For no reason
Just
whatsoever.
a mundane polish.
Yeah.
Cool. I love that. Corex, similar question for you. You have a requisition out there for a specific cloak. Are you?
He does.
Yeah.
And I keep forgetting to go get it.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to sort of plug that right here in case you wanted to pick that up.
I think Corax would have just gone to pick it up. He wouldn't have worried about dragging Mina to go and see his
Sure.
buddy.
There seems to be more pressing matters in this moment specifically. And Terrius, what have you been doing?
Probably doing, the general thing.
General thing.
Up until this point, she was pretty much neglecting her duties, whatever those were. So she's been attending all the meetings, actively engaging, all the conversations. She's been probably out with Captain Hargan, taking stock of the troops that they have left for like the reconciliators who were on our side. And yeah, pretty much just going with the motions right now.
So to reveal what your roles meant, this is the information you have, given your extended interactions with Captain Harkins. There were originally a century of Knights Reconciliation, which is roughly 80. 25 of them defected and were loyal to Darian Hargans. Those are the ones that fought with you against the Reconciliators. Of the remaining 55 Reconciliators, 14 of them surrendered and are now in prison. 41 were killed, and 4 of Darian's troops were killed.
Okay.
So there is a remainder of 21 loyal troops to Darien Hargens, and 14 in prison.
Okay. Cool.
Cool.
And I think she probably would have very randomly approached Attain, the queen, during this time, very
Oh.
casually, as she's like as she's walking through the palace or something, surrounded by all of her her aides and her other people. She probably just would have came out of nowhere and just sidled in beside her as they're walking.
Sure.
And she was like, "Your Majesty, I have want to ask you something."
General, how can I be of assistance?
When this is all over and everything goes back to normal, I need something from you.
Okay. Could you be more specific?
I need a house.
I'm sorry, like a home? Like
Yeah, a place where a place that someone can call home.
I'm
And
a
she's just
little.
walking, staring forward.
Are you asking me to find you a house to live in here in the city?
Yeah,
Oh.
when this is all over, of course. We're a little busy right now.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm a little taken aback by the request. It's not one that I would have expected from you, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's fairly simple to accomplish.
She
Yes,
nods.
I can make that happen.
Fantastic. And she kind of reaches out with her hand to she brushes her hand, like her arm with her hand, signaling her to stop, and then Terry's will stop. And
She sort of stops, and there's like a little like a moment of hesitation and confusion, and she sort of like waves her entourage on for a second. She says, is this a code?
it's code for I need a house.
Oh.
And she puts out her hand to shake her hand.
The queen looks at you confused again, and she sort of like puts out a hand to shake your hand.
And
It's very
shake
stiff.
it. And she will shake it firmly. And she's very like all these days that have passed, she's very like she's not the same that she was. She doesn't walk around with like a scowl on her face. She's very she seems very relaxed and easygoing now. And she shakes her hand and she goes, "If I don't see you again before the start of all this, good luck."
And to you as well. And there is absolutely a note of like, what just happened? In her voice, where like everything about that interaction was one of the most casual interactions she's had in quite some time. Let alone with a demigod. Like like she just had an actual demigod come out and shake her hand and be like, "Hey, I'd like to live in your city. Could you please give me a free house?" And it was very, very confusing for her, especially since you are both a demigod and also a general and therefore a subordinate in this war. The whole interaction was strange for her.
And she just says, she just shakes her head in like very light expression. She goes, "I'll see you on the other side." And then she will turn on her heel and head off.
Yeah, she just stares there, and you can like feel like deer in headlights blinking at the back of your head as she just watches you go off and disappear. Very, very confusedly. Fantastic. So that is the first couple of days, checking the perimeter, checking the troops, picking up lost items, packages, forgotten things. Unfortunately, being sieged is boring. The downside is you can't leave the city, and unfortunately for you all, the only known the only known exit out of the city is currently guarded by both people. Both sides are guarding the underground tunnels, and therefore it is nearly impossible to get anyone in or out of them. Meaning you don't have many scouts outside, and if you do, they have little to no way to get information back into the city, which is currently the highest priority of Order, is learning what Jaseth's troops, the Chrysler's troops, are doing. Are they being reinforced by the dragon? Where are the favored? These are all questions that are hot on the topic, are hot on the minds of the generals. Anytime you have a meeting, these are the questions that are sort of asked here. The city itself, there is an air of trepidation. Everyone knows what's happening. There's no fake it till you make it anymore. They know there is a war. They know they are besieged. However, in the city, as far as it can, life must continue. Obviously, the markets aren't nearly as full and flourishing as they once could have been, but there are jobs in the city that need to be maintained. There is a constant military presence here in the city. There is training by the people who are not on duty. There are training by the people who are not the defensive force. And the city itself seems to sort of just continue in spite of the fact that they are under siege. The Queen has been adamant that there will still be a parade daily, and there has been. So whenever the sun goes down, there is still a parade. There is still a semi-raucous revelment in this. The Queen, to you all, has posited this as a morale boost for the citizens and also a sneer in the face of Jaseth, meaning that we can still continue as a city with or without his siege, because it matters that little to us. Realistically, you know that is not true. It is mostly for morale boost and to keep everyone sort of level. Last thing you need to know have is someone sort of lose it in the city, and that be the crack in the bilge that lets the flood of Jaseth kind of in here.
Mike,
Yeah,
I have a question for you.
Great. I have answers.
A number of reconciliators were killed.
A number
of
them.
reconciliators were stuck in a prison.
That's
and a
correct.
number of them have joined our cause.
That is ultimately correct.
Yep. So, on a former reconciliator, Antares acquired a medallion, I think it was, or an amulet that allowed people to go to a place otherwise that they know about. Did we acquire any of those off of those reconciliators that were taken hostage, murdered?
Did you acquire that off a reconciliator, or did you acquire it off the cultist?
Off the reconciliator.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's something that a higher level reconciliator has.
I will tell you what. This is a cipher. This item is a cipher. It is a one-use thing. It transports you in one direction, one time. I will let you find one at the cost of an XP.
I don't have any XP, Mike.
Well,
I will spend an XP for you.
Well,
because I have 3.
In that case,
can I do that?
Yeah, hell yeah. In that case, you find an amulet of the Far Traveler. So what I'll do is I'll show this to all players.
That means we have 2.
Sure. So you find one, Seydlitz. It is an amulet of the Far Traveler. The user is transferred to a location that they know exists, no matter how far away it is or how many interceding barriers lie between them and the endpoint. The user can go anywhere as long as they know the location exists, and I will decide if you have enough information to confirm the location's existence. Fantastic. So Seydlitz, you have that. You can mark that down on your ciphers, your character sheet. And I will remind everyone, just in case more ciphers are discovered, there is a number on the right-hand side of your character sheet. That is the number of ciphers you can have at any one time before things like the skins of gods come to find you. Yeah, just that.
No big deal.
Just that old can of worms. So several days into the siege, as I said, everything is sort of going as normal as it possibly can, right? The typical my brain is flooded with military words. The battle update brief, which is the end of day sort of meeting that the queen has to get any updates from her to you guys, from you to her, etc. That commences. Nothing new or relevant is put out by either person. Everyone's forces are rest cycles, training cycles, preparing, sharpening, testing armor, preparedness level is high, right? At the end of the meeting, when all of you are dismissed, Captain Hargens hangs back and he says, excuse me, Queen, I would like to speak with you, if I could, and General Antares, if I could speak with you as well. This is
Of course.
something I have been meaning to bring across your respective desks. And he sort of lags back at that war table with the two of you. Korax, Mina, Seydlitz, you were not requested, but do you stay, or do you wander off to do your own thing?
Stay.
Mina kind of raises an eyebrow questioningly at Antares to see if she wants him there or not.
Yeah, she would nod.
So Mina will stay.
Yeah, Korax would have done the same. He would have stopped to look at, and if Antares gave any sort of indication, he would wait. But
okay,
he's not fussy though.
So the four of you stay with the queen. He sort of looks around as the rest of the generals filter out. He gives like a good 30 seconds, kind of half expecting the rest of you to filter out, and when he realizes that that's not going to happen, he just sort of carries on with what he's going to what he was planning to do. He turns to the queen and he says, Sovereign, this is not a slight against you. However, I felt it best to have you here for this in an official capacity. This isn't something that has been done before. I'm not exactly entirely sure of what the proper channels for something like what I'm about to propose would be. So please, I don't mean this from any sort of slight at you or your character or ability to lead. And you can see he's kind of like, he's a little bit fumbling through his words, which you kind of haven't seen. He's kind of been a voice of authority. The queen looks as confused as G does in this moment. And he turns and he says, General Antares, you have come on quite a journey, if I may say. We have not previously interacted outside of the city. I don't think any of my men have had the pleasure or otherwise to have interacted with you. However, what I have seen, what I've heard of your past and what I have seen of your present, and what you have done here in the city, what you have done here with the people, the queen, with your companions, and he sort of looks around to the rest of you. I spoke to my men. I spoke to the prisoners, and he looks back to the queen and he says, this is where I would need your assistance, my lady. we have decided amongst ourselves that if you would allow it, he looks to the queen, and if you would have it, and he looks to Antares, we will no longer be known as the Knights of Reconciliation. We have unofficially, but will now officially, denounced our connection to Corso, to the dragon, to the reconciliators themselves. And if you would, and he walks out from next to the table and sort of stands in front of you, Antares, and he says, if you would, and he kneels, we would pledge ourselves as the Knights of Redemption.
She grins.
And he sort of has he's knelt with like his head down.
Yeah, she chuckles. Stand up, Captain. Stand up.
He
She
stands.
will put a hand on his arm and it's like, it would be my honor if you did that. And she will shake his hand.
Seeing he shakes your hand, and there is like there's something about it feels like small, right? Like it's like shaking the hand of a child, right? Like something about like this big man and big huge plate armor seems diminished in some capacity, not like in a negative light. And he says, we saw you. We have come to understand what you are. And we believe in what we think you're fighting for. You haven't expressed it in exact words as of yet, but we stand beside you. And whatever tenets you decree, we shall follow.
Yeah, I think she smiles a little bit. We have a lot to make up for, you and I, don't we?
Quite a few things in all of our pasts.
Yeah. And from what I've learned, it's not going to be easy. And it might feel good now, and it's going to get harder. But, and she will pat him on the pauldron. It'll be hard, but it'll be okay.
I will inform the rest of the troops. We await your orders. And the queen looks back and forth between like him and yourself. Only a day or so prior, you asked for a house. The queen is currently overwhelmed with the things that are happening inside of her own kingdom. But ultimately, the Knights of Reconciliation were never under her control. This was more of the enemy of my enemy situation. So she has no direct authority to stop what is in fact happening. She looks to the back and forth, and she says, Captain Hogrins, your troops will be released, given that they swear an oath, and they will not be given quarter if they should betray that oath. Is that understood? That is understood, my liege. I will deliver them the news myself. And
Should I come?
Sure. Yes. If you, I can assemble the troops in. Give me a few moments, and I'll assemble the troops, and you can say whatever you need to say.
Well, I can't guarantee it's going to be anything really moving and awe-inspiring, but yeah.
He excuses himself, sort of bows before you, and exits the room, leaving the four of you and the queen, who just sort of like has an exasperated sigh of like, there's too many things happening. We're at siege, like we're at war. This is a lot. It's a lot to deal with.
She chuckles like, "Well, that was unexpected," and she just kind of
Time to
makes her
start a
way.
new knightly order.
Knights of Redemption, apparently.
I was unaware of his intentions. This is the first I'm hearing of this as well.
Well, we'll continue to do our duties as assigned by you, Your Majesty. So
I didn't give it a second thought. I assume congratulations are in order. Any sort of celebration, given the current state of affairs, is reason enough for me. Perhaps I can arrange something at tonight's festivities. Any excuse to remind people of what we're fighting for is a good excuse.
Your Majesty, if I may speak up while all of us are still present, I would like to say something, suggest something
By all
about our
means.
current situation.
Please.
Well, while we dequipped the Knights of Reconciliation, something caught my eye among their equipment, and it was this amulet that we took off one of them. According to the knight that we took it off, they call it an amulet of the far traveler. And apparently it allows you a one-use, basically teleport to anywhere you know. And we still have a scouting issue. We don't know the enemy force. I wonder if this would come in handy.
It would come in handy. If it can, is it both directions, or is it just one travel?
Apparently it's just one way, one use.
and Terry's
So
not.
So what I was thinking is, honestly, one of us could probably sneak out of here, get as much information they can, use this to get back. And the thing is, we can't just send any normal person to do that. It'd practically be a suicide mission.
I agree.
So one of us four will have to do it.
Ah,
If I may be so bold, Korax can't. He is incapable.
She pats
mean-
Korax on the
Mina also is not a good choice because he has the whole guard company to deal with.
You could. It's okay, Seydlitz. You can volunteer yourself.
Korax
Normally, I
chuckles
was
at
going to
that.
ask if you wanted to do it, but now you have a nightly order, so it looks like it has to be me.
I'm not going to leave the city.
So it has to be me.
How quick is that to use? If you get in trouble,
It's
No clue.
instantaneous, as far as I know.
How would you know anything?
Because I'm the one who found it, and I deal with reconciliators.
Found it.
this is a different one, Chi.
This is a different one, Chi.
No, it's the same amulet that I found before.
it's the same
Not-
one. It's
Same
just
type.
yeah.
Yeah, same type.
You've had one of these amulets and you never told us?
I told you, I don't have it currently, but I found one, and I remember I told you guys a while ago that the reconciliators, it's possible that they would
Maybe I
have
just
them
don't
on these.
remember.
It was the one with the giant creeping crawling thing of hands
Yeah,
inside
Yeah.
the temple.
I found it on the body of the guy I decapitated.
Korax looks to and Terry says, "Oh, that's the one that we could have used to go and see Mother's house, but there was no way out of there to get her book."
Well, only one of us wouldn't be able to go anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea.
But
Yeah,
if
that would
there's
have been a terrible
two-
idea, Korax.
But if there's two, we could get someone out and in, back into the city for intel.
I don't think we actually need both to get out. Depends on Depends on how often they look at the walls, really.
All day.
There's got to be a pattern to it. Like
Well,
they have
that's
to
what you can find out.
switch
isn't it?
people out, probably. Even if they're undead, they get bored.
Do they care?
I would. But if you take a good book, you can sit there for ages.
Well, that's
Take a
you.
good book, you're not watching the walls.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And just so
Maybe
we're
we-
clear, Korax, if I ever get into my mother's chambers, it's not going to be to get the book. Okay?
But you can grab it while you're there.
If I ever have the time.
Technically, with two, you could go there, stab her in the back, and then come back.
Oh, just so easy. So easy. And she
It sounds. I know it's
she
not that
turns and
simple.
starts walking towards the door.
Just stab one of the most powerful sorceresses in the world.
Yeah.
Sure, she has no defenses. She's never expected to be stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
Teleport, stab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Backstab.
her one weakness, knives. As Antari starts to walk out, the queen says, "No, this is revelatory. If you're volunteering to exit the walls, and scout and find what you can, that would drastically improve our situation here. Jacinth has not made any demands. He has not formally assaulted the city. They are just out there. So we can only assume at this point what it is he wants, which I assume would be the throne, which would be tantamount to returning the throne to Corso, which is obviously something that we are not trying to do here. This is of great risk, Seydlitz. You
I
understand
agree.
that?
I completely understand.
Your odds of survival are better than any of my other scouts, but they are still abysmal.
They are abyssal.
Still really low is the point I think we're trying to dance around here. But if this is something that you wish to do, I cannot stop you.
The intel would be invaluable.
I
And
agree.
they could just be waiting for an army to arrive from Corso.
Is
Maybe-
Jason here? We can't tell her there's no honor guard or any weird shit like that.
As far as you can tell, like there's no he hasn't had any pomp and circumstance that he's here.
Okay. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Snow?
I was just going to suggest that Seydlitz's odds might be better if we provide some sort of distraction.
Thing is, it's not like they're all in one big ring around the wall, like holding hands. There's got to be gaps in there to slip through.
It's not.
No, I agree.
Logistically, it's not impossible. I will say, from a GM perspective, logistically, it is not impossible. It is just going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But all I'm suggesting is if we draw their attention to another part of the wall, it might increase your odds of getting out undetected.
But we have to do that carefully. We don't want to trigger we don't want to trigger their attack.
They could be waiting for an excuse to attack.
Mm.
Us attacking them is an attack.
Oh yes, they're here peacefully. They're not touching. Yes, they're not touching us. And
They're on a camping holiday.
Well,
Side note. Do you think they have more of these amulets?
probably
What's keeping them from coming in here?
absolutely nothing. That's the threat that I informed you guys of before.
don't know if that's something we can do anything about.
Not that I'm aware of. And probably, I'm assuming she glances at Korax, not without some kind of magical assistance.
Corax looks to Darius. Can I borrow the amulet that you have?
I don't have
Not
it.
to use, wherever it is. Can I use it for research purposes? Basically, what he's looking to do is take a copy of the symbols and everything that's on it and start looking for those symbols, those information about that in the libraries. He's not looking to use it.
She kind of just like turns on her heel a little bit and Faye's like, no.
Seydlitz. And he digs into one of his pockets, pulls out some paper. Can I borrow that, please?
Seydlitz tosses it to Korax.
He just literally sketches out all of the symbols that are on this amulet. Once he's done that, he hands it back. Let me see what I can find in the library. And he just walks towards the door.
What about the rest of you?
Even if we do make a distraction, it'll still have to be done at night. Light is too obvious. Besides, funny enough, you break a big battle line, it gets really bright, and right next to that bright light is pitch dark.
Wouldn't daylight be better? Aren't they creatures of the Nightlands? Wouldn't they be better at seeing at night?
It's all the same.
Well, one side, I will remind you, one side of the city is in perpetual darkness. Only the north side of the city has sunlight.
Mm. So he could pretty much leave at any time.
Yeah. Technically, it's night and day at all times, depending on what side of the city you're on, right?
Even so, it'd still be better at not actual night.
Whatever you decide, Seydlitz. And she's going to turn and head out.
Okay.
Seydlitz pulls that cloak of energy protection out of his knapsack and throws it over his shoulders. And Buttons is like, whatever we do, we have to do it quick.
The queen looks to you and says, you let me know what you need. I can direct forces. Mina, you can direct your forces to assist. We can cause a distraction. Just let me know what the distraction you need is, where you need it, so you can position yourself opposite, and when, and we can make this happen.
Positioning opposite won't work. If you're going to cause a distraction, the nearest reinforcements will come from the nearby flanks. That's what I'll have to go through. They're not going to pull people from the opposite side for a small skirmish.
I wasn't suggesting a skirmish. I was just suggesting something on the wall that would draw their attention.
Big bright beacon.
Or maybe the announcement
How shiny
of
is
a
Mina's
new
shield right now?
It's well polished.
Is it
It's
like
Wexy shield.
reflecting?
It's probably bright enough to reflect things, yeah.
Mina, did you spend all day polishing your troops' shields?
Yeah, that's I mean, it's a siege. We're
I
not
think I
doing
have
much.
an idea.
Yep, I'm open to suggestions.
Hey, this is gonna go through a convoluted plan about using the shields around like a fire and making a big makeshift spotlight to shine on, say, Mina or something, who's gonna do like some big speech while his Nimbus is out, getting everybody's attention, trying to mess with the enemy.
Sounds like a plan.
I can't wait to
He
hear
is
that
gonna
speech.
do a speech.
I'm so excited for this. I had nothing to do with this, and I'm so excited for this speech that is to come.
Oh, no,
I
this
hate
is
this so
completely
much.
me.
Yeah, I live
me now.
I live for this. Yeah, perfect. We cut across the hall, essentially, to the library and find Korax doing what?
Book things.
Yeah, book things. What are you doing? What's going on over there?
So Korax is looking for any information about these. I keep forgetting their names. These amulets.
The amulet of the
Um,
Far Traveler.
He's looking for anything to do with that. And if he finds anything, he's looking for a way to block its ability people to get into an area, however big or small that can be.
Interesting.
Bigger the better, Mike.
Roll me. It's gonna be. You want to learn about this, find the source of the power, and find a way to block this.
Not necessarily the source of the power, just his ultimate goal is to find a way to stop it from working in an area. So people can't teleport into the city. Or at least the palace.
Interesting. Okay. This is gonna be a difficulty. Let's see. Let me see. The difficulty of the item itself is that. Okay, this is gonna be a difficulty 8. It's gonna be a difficulty 8 intelligence check. Go ahead and whittle me down with all your abilities.
Right. That doesn't apply. Eager to learn will apply because that is book-based things.
Yep, I'll take it. I'll allow that.
3 divine shifts. 1,
Okay.
2, 3. So take it down to a 5. 4 technically with the eager to learn. And 2 efforts.
And I will let you know that knowledge of godly beings will apply here.
Oh. That changes things, Mike. That's so it's reducing it by 4 for the divine shifts and knowledge of godly beings. It takes it down to a 4, minus another 1 for eager to learn. 2 effort to roll, no assets, and a
17.
success.
Fantastic. You look through these runes, you compare them to various manuscripts and books and ancient texts that have survived the fall here in the city of Samora. You find that the runes, these amulets are essentially I don't know, they're not quite knockoffs, but they are post fall creations of things that existed pre fall, and what you find is that these symbols that are used on here belonged to a lesser or appear most often in the association of a lesser god of pre-fall. The god's name is Deities, Dedos, god of the path. He is a lesser god of divinity. But he has domain over roads, doors, intersections, passageways from here to there. Getting someone from point A to point B on whatever path is their journey is his domain. You find this information, you find a little bit of information about this lesser deity. Unfortunately, with the information you uncover, without the power of this god of paths. There is no way for sure to block this. You think with enough powerful magic, you may be able to increase the difficulty of someone teleporting into here. The current things you are up against is it would be incredibly exhaustive to basically hold this shield forever, indefinitely. Meaning that, like, if you only have one person as the focal point of whatever this spell work is, that person's going to burn out. And two, the other alternative is you need to know when someone's coming, which is nearly impossible for you to predict when someone from anywhere in the world could be coming here. It is not impossible for you to do this task. It is going to be very difficult, and you need to be very careful with how it is completed. It could result in any number of, depending on how powerful these sorcerers are, it could involve their death if they burn out. They would essentially be using all of their life force as the mana for this spell work to continuously provide a shield. And if they are not properly cycled and rested, they can die.
And I imagine the bigger the area, the more power it's going to take.
Correct.
So this is an active thing. It's not something that we could etch runes around the city or around the palace to do. Okay.
Yeah, you would need to put some sort of divine power into that to keep it going. There needs to be some sort of battery for this. The ciphers, for instance, the amulets, it is an activation. So it works and then it's dead. The battery drains, essentially. So for you to keep a protective shield, an anti-teleport shield, for lack of better words, you would need to provide a power source. There is a number of divine people in here. There are a number of sorcerers as well in the city that could assist in that. But the prolonged nature of the siege, you have no idea for how long you would need to power that. And it would leave anyone weak. So it's not impossible. It is just going to be very difficult.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Cool. We cut over to Antares. You have left here. Where are you headed? Are you trying to find Hargens?
No, I think in this moment, unless I was supposed to be meeting him at a specific time.
You offered to assist with telling his troops that they are now the Knights of Redemption.
Right, and that's where he's going right now. Okay.
Correct.
I was gonna go have a little visit, but no, if he's going to do that, then I will go and do.
He did say it would take him some time to assemble his troops, and you're already in the castle. So if you're looking for someone, perhaps in the castle, that's totally possible.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, if she knows she has time,
Yeah.
then she is going to head towards the school classroom.
Okay. You head into what has become affectionately known by one person as Korax's library. And you head up the wrought iron spiral staircase to the second floor, and you will find the classroom there.
Yeah, and she approaches the door that she knows where all the kids are, and she hears the ruckus on the other side. And if you don't mind, she's gonna kind of, as she's approaching it, the laughter and the screaming of the kids kind of draws her in, and her gaze kind of loses focus and she zones out, and the sounds of the people in the kids inside turns to screaming in her mind, and we kind of fade into a memory of hers, and we see her, well, not her, we see Antares the Favored of Nilumriel in her full battle armor, stalking through a village in the Nightlands. And the village is on fire. There's smoke billowing around, and people are screaming in fear and in pain. And she's walking, her face just stone emptiness. And around her, you see troops. They're not reconciliators. They look like they are house guards. They are wearing armor and they have black and silver like tunics over their stuff, and on their chest plate there is a symbol of a fist holding a dagger. And as she walks, she's not engaging with anybody. Her sword is in its sheath, and these troops are killing the villagers indiscriminately. And we see what looks to be the lord of a house. He looks like Baron Harkonnen from Dune. Extremely large, obese man wearing the black and silver fineries, and he's waddling along with his entourage. And one of the members of the entourage has a scroll case on his hip, and it's glowing purple. And this lord is holding in his hand a large, wicked-looking dagger that's covered in blood. And the soldiers have people, and they're like lining them up in front of this lord. And he's killing them, and he's reveling in it. And as Antares walks, she's just not paying attention to what's going on. You see two reconciliators standing off in the distance, and they have a prisoner in shackles, and they look like they're being prepared to leave the scene. As she's walking past this barn, she hears a thumping sound on the other side of the wall, and she stops, and she tilts her head like an animal listening to something. And she hears a shuffle very faintly on the other side of this wall. She turns and she walks into the barn, and there's dead farmers lying in the straw, being cut down by the other soldiers. And she slowly walks over to what looks like a wall. There's no door or anything. She steps closer and she hears a shuffling inside. And she tilts her head and she reaches over and grabs a plank, and she pulls open what's a false door. And inside is about a dozen children, and they're all hiding. And when she opens the door, they like shriek in fear. And there's all ages from 4 to the oldest boy looking around 14. They're all huddled together, hiding in this hidey hole. And she just looks at them with her amber eyes and her red battle paint on her face. And they look up at her in fear. And she just looks at them, and then she just goes, shh. And then she backs up and she closes the door. And she turns and she heads back out. And as she walks out of the barn, zoom in on her eyes, and then we fade back, and she's standing back in front of the door in the castle. And her vision kind of comes back, and she shakes her head. And then she casually opens the door and looks at all the kids hanging out inside.
It takes a few moments for you to be noticed in this, not quite revelry, but the dishevelment, the discordant sound of children at play when they should be learning. But a few moments go by, and there is an acknowledgement from the proctor at the front, who just sort of nods to you. Seeing you around the castle is commonplace. You are known. and he is not in a position to tell you to leave if you want to be here, given who you are. And after the nod, there is a moment that passes before you are spotted by Arua, and she turns around and she sort of does that like full arm wave to you, and smiles at you.
And she grins, goes, "Oh, miss, I'm wondering if you could help me," she says to Arua.
She looks to you and she says, "Of course I can." And she immediately gets up from whatever she's doing and runs towards the door. "How can I help you?" And she like stands up very officially and like clicks her heels together.
I'm looking for Princess Arua. Can you help me find her?"
We sure can. I have a group of soldiers, and they can search the castle for this princess. And she goes, "Soldiers!" And she like looks over her shoulder expectantly for a group of soldiers to appear. When no one does, she turns and goes, "Ahem! I said soldiers." And 4 other kids also stand up and they hold imaginary spears and they, "Ma'am," and they stand there looking at looking at all of you. And she goes, "We need to search the castle and find Princess Arua." And they, "Understood, ma'am." And they begin to scatter around the room, looking under tables and chairs. And she looks to you and she says, "This is a fun game."
It looks like it. It looks like you've played this before.
"No, I just made it up."
Well, Princess Arua, and she winks at her, "I'm here to escort you home.
Oh. Oh, okay.
I think your school day's almost over."
Um, yeah, that, okay. I just sort of go when they say it's over. But if you say it's over, then he's not going to stop you.
Well, and she looks at the instructor, "If it's okay."
It's fine. The day is nearly done, and
Early dismissal.
yes, understood. By all means, she is safe in your care.
And she kind of leans down and offers her hand for Arua to take it.
She does. She'll hold on to your hand as you walk down the stairs. And where are you headed?
She leans down and looks down at her. It's like, "Okay, I have to admit, I came to escort you home because princesses need an escort, but I don't actually know where you live. So I think you're gonna have to escort me."
Oh, I understand. You're the princess. This way. And she sounds very official. And every once in a while she'll pass by someone and say, "Excuse me, official business here." And she begins to move through the crowd of people. "Princess coming through." And she adopts an accent, and she begins to maneuver through the castle towards the um, the God, my brain just turned off. The quarters of the employees of the castle.
And as they're walking, when they pass one of those guards whose duty is just to stand there in the hallway, right?
Mhm.
Guys like that. As she walks past, she takes off her sword with the hilt and she shoves it in this guy's arms. She said, "Can you hold this for me?" And she just keeps walking.
Okay. And he holds it as you are a general, and he is not. So she continues bringing you through, and eventually, you make your way to the quarters, where she says, "This one is where I stay, and I don't know if you know this, but I have my own room. It's kind of,
Well, I should hope so.
well, I have always slept with mom, and now
Now you have your own room?
have my own room."
And where is your mom? Do you think I can see your mom too?
Oh, well, if she's not working, then she should be right here. And she knocks on the door across from hers. And then in a high-pitched, very shrill, "Mom!" Through the door, that penetrates all the walls of the castle. She shouts, You hear shuffling coming from inside, and the door opens, and you see Stephanie there, looking at her daughter, and then up at you. And her first response is exasperation, and what has she done now?
Well, she did a very good job escorting me here.
Because she's in trouble?
Oh, no, not at all. And she ruffles her hair a little bit. I just
Oh,
wanted to come and see you both.
oh,
I
uh,
hope this is not a too inconvenient time.
not at all. I wasn't expecting. I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting. She, you see, she comes home with all sorts of stories of Korax, and he appears to be teaching her. I don't sorcery or
She raises her
some kind
eyebrows.
of thing.
Really?
He's her newest teacher. At least that's what she says. Some of it sounds made up, but and she like rubs the top of her head. But who knows? She is growing like a weed. And you notice as your eyes are like drawn to the top of her head where her mother sort of like ruffles her hair,
Mhm,
the part in the middle of her head, the first like inch of it where like if you dyed your hair your roots would be,
mhm.
it's green. And it fades out to like a brown. um and she says, yes, he has been teaching her something. I don't fully understand all of it, but I assumed she was in trouble. Please come in.
Well, it sounds about Korax, and she will come in.
It does sound about Corex.
Yeah. Um,
How can I help you?
well, I wanted to just come by and say, "I'm sorry I didn't come by sooner," and she kind of chuckled a little bit. "I meant to come and visit you a lot sooner, but things
I,
have
in your
been
defense, there is an entire war happening.
true." But that's more of a recent development, and yeah, things have it's been a tumultuous I can't say that word now. It's been a crazy past couple weeks.
I, I'll say.
And I just want to know how you're doing.
Um, I seems strange to say. Given everything that we've been through, um, we are the most cared for we have ever been. We are, um, despite the literal war, we are the safest we've ever been. Um, and that is in no small part thanks to you uh, and your friends.
Good. Well, I'm glad. And you're happy.
I'm comparatively, I have nothing to be unhappy about. We were living in a slum in Corso, and I was pregnant, and we were being chased, and now none of that is true. I have a place to call home. Rua has a place to call home. She has a place to learn and be educated, and people care about us. You,
Good.
Nina, Korax, Seydlitz, care about us. This is the happiest I've been in some time, given
She
recent circumstances.
she grins. Good. I'm glad. And I just wanted to say thank you for all the help you've given me, even though even though it's been a while. Um,
I'm sorry, I've given you help as well.
sure. Um,
Okay.
you were the first person to really show me kindness. And it's something that I was taught my entire life that was a weakness. But now I know that's one of many lies told to me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry
Well,
that I'm sorry that you I'm sorry that that was your experience, and I'm sorry that I was one of the first people to show you kindness. I'm sorry that it took so long in your life for someone to show that.
I'm okay with it. I've come to terms with it in the past couple of days.
From the talk of the castle, you do seem to be doing quite well for yourself.
Thanks. I think she blushes a little bit and chuckles. I have Knights of Redemption, apparently.
And I heard you're getting a house.
Yes. When the war is over, of course.
Of course.
One needs a place to call home.
Of course. And perhaps we will visit you.
I hope so. Is this, and she kind of looks around, is this a place where you want to call your home? When this is all over, wouldn't you want to find your own place?
It's I honestly hadn't given it much thought. It is quite commonplace for the castle staff to live inside the castle. We want for nothing. All of our needs are met here. We have clothing, food, safety. I don't think there's anything a home of my own would provide that this doesn't. And as long as we're here, Arua maintains her education.
Hmm. Indeed. Well, when this war is all over and we're no longer waiting on bated breath, perhaps you'll come and take a walk of the city with me. The food here is great, and the shopping is also pretty good.
Of course.
And maybe Arua will come, if that's all right.
And she's just standing next to you, like watching with the ping pong look. And she looks to her mom and she goes, I would love to go shopping. She goes, yes, of course. Arua would obviously be welcomed, and perhaps we will buy something. And she like looks down at her, lowering expectations. Of course, when things settle, and it is safer to do so, I would be quite happy to.
Right. Because you did make an offer a long time ago. Seems like an age ago now, that you knew what it was like being around and traveling with the men or the boys.
Yes.
So I look forward to, and she glances down at her, some girl time.
Yes. Perhaps we can make a day of it.
Definitely. And then she'll crouch down and she will give Arua a look over. You're a lot bigger than the last time I saw you.
Everyone says that.
Yeah. I love your hair.
Thanks. It did it itself. I woke up like that. It keeps getting bigger.
You're a lucky girl. And then she'll just show her nimbus to her.
Oh. Did Mr. Korax tell you what I can do?
He said you're good at making things grow.
Yeah. Watch this. Ready? And she like rubs her feet like you would try to electrify your socks on a carpet, and she
Yeah.
starts rubbing it, and just grass starts to just grow, and it spreads out in like a circle around her. She's like, "Look at this! Look at this! Look at this! Look at this!" And it just keeps going, and like flowers start to pop up, and you see like like vines start to swirl out of it. And she goes, "I can do this all day."
And she laughs. And she takes she plucks one of the flowers and she tucks it behind Arua's ear.
Oh, I should stop because they're gonna get mad if I keep doing this, and then they have to cut it. And um, sorry. And she like looks to her mom, who just sort of shakes her head. Stephanie just looks at her and just shakes her head. As the circle is now
patches of
like,
grass
yeah,
everywhere.
you can see there's like discolored stone and discolored carpet in places around this hallway that you now clearly can assume that it is Arua growing things
Yeah.
in the castle walls. She goes, "Yeah, I keep getting, they don't like it when I do it. I thought it would be pretty to put flowers inside the castle because it's all boring. But they said it was destructive. So
Well, that's rude.
that's what
Well,
I thought.
when this is over, we're gonna go to a place and you can make it grow as much as you want.
Yes,
I promise.
yes, I would like that.
Hmm.
Like a big flower house.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We need a nice rooftop garden, that's for sure.
Yes. That would be so. And then I'll put flowers on all the houses on the whole city.
I like that. I think the city would like that too,
I would
despite what the queen says.
I think she'd like it. She seems nice.
Hmm. I think she needs more flowers in her life too.
I think so too. She seems grumpy lately, and I think flowers make everyone happy because they're bright and they have so many colors.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I have homework. And she like she like tucks under your arm and into her mom's room. And you see there's like a small table that has like miscellaneous kids utensils on it, and she begins scratching away at something. Stephanie looks to you and she says, "She is nothing if not energetic." Um, I do appreciate you stopping by, and I hope to see more of you and everyone else. I know that it is chaos out there, but I know it can't be easy on all of you.
Yes, yeah, things, and she looks down. Things have been rough the past couple of weeks, but I think they'll get better. They have to, right?
One would hope.
Yeah. And I think she's gonna put out her hand to shake her hand.
Um, Arua looks at you. Stephanie looks at you and sees you trying to shake her hand. And she just sort of like tucks one hand underneath your arm and she sort of hugs you. Because friends don't shake hands, friends hug.
There's just like that the one moment of hesitation, and then like, oh, and then she will hug her back, and it's like a gentle but firm hug, like a tight hug.
Yeah. Yeah, so she hugs you and sort of takes a step back and she says, "Send the boys my love. Let them know that we are in the castle, we are rooting for them. And let Korax know that Stephanie does bring Arua does bring home reports of what she is being taught."
Good. And she says, "You have everything you need to be safe."
I have everything.
Very good. Then I will bid you good evening.
She says, "Good night, Antares." And she like watches you awkwardly leave for a second, and you hear the door latch close behind you. You head back out through the castle, wending your way through these corridors. And you see assembled in front of the castle. You get to like the main area where like the great hall is, the staircase is and this area between like the meeting room and the library, and there's a bit of a buzz. There's a bit of a like a grouping of people just sort of around here. There's a little bit of confusion and discussion. Seydlitz and Mina, where are you? You were the last two in the room. It's probably been maybe 20 minutes or so since we left you there. Are you still there? Have you gone elsewhere? Are you still around the castle?
Mina would have waited to see if Seydlitz had come up with a plan of getting out of the city to know whether he needs to distract anyone, and if there's nothing else, he'll head back to the barracks.
Okay.
Seydlitz definitely came up with a plan. I told you the plan.
Yeah, but Mina needs the details where you're planning on exiting and where he needs to position.
Southgate.
So where do you want me?
Southgate.
Okay.
Seydlitz is going to exit from the southeast side of the wall. He's going to scale down the wall.
Okay.
Basically, Seydlitz's plan, if I'm going to go over in detail instead of, shorthand.
Yeah.
Seydlitz wants basically the southeast and southwest side of the wall are usually lit up. He wants those lights extinguished, all the light focused right above the south gate, with Mina there and anyone else who wants to volunteer to basically cause a big distraction with godly stuff and light and all this stuff. And he'll be scaling down the southeast side and basically looking for a way through the enemy lines to get behind them. Most likely he won't succeed, but he's going to try anyway.
Okay. That sounds like a plan. So we'll say the discussion of that plan puts you right around the same time. So you may be caught up in the hubbub of what is happening here. And Korax, you can hear the hubbub coming, you were wafting into the library. And Teres, as you walk out into this main foyer, you see assembled outside are a number, a relatively large number of reconciliators, of Knights of Reconciliation. There are 35 in total, I believe.
Yes, 35.
Yeah. There are 35 in total, with Hargan at the front of this. They're all facing the castle. They are sort of in like squad rows, like in a military formation, and they are standing there, seemingly waiting for orders. Hargan is standing at the top of the stairs. As soon as he sees you, he walks into the castle and he says, General, the troops have been amassed for you. They are ready to take a pledge at your word.
No time like the present. And she would have recollected her sword from that guy. She just dumped it on. And she will nod to the captain to lead the way, and she will follow him.
You follow him out there. He joins the front of his company, essentially. And he gives the order, and all of them take a knee. Seydlitz, Korax, and Mina, you all hear this happening. Are you staying in your respective areas, or are you venturing out to see what all this noise is about?
Mina will definitely investigate what's going on.
Said's scouring a local map with all like the terrain features of the southern side of Samora.
Korax would attend. He's found the information he needed. He doesn't really have much else to do until Seydlitz is ready to go.
Gotcha. Seydlitz, you the most detailed map for your usage would be in the council chamber, the table, the war table that you have gathered around, that has a 3-dimensional topographical map. Like it's like a diorama, giving you access for that. So you can see in great detail what the topography, the terrain of the city and its surroundings look like in the immediate area. And it goes as far as it goes as far as the Krakens to the south, and as far as the edge of the forest that you had ventured into to the east, and as far as the foothills to the west. So you should have all of the access that you need. That is, as far as you guys know, that is beyond the bounds of where Jace's forces encircle the city. So you can look over that for as much information as you'd like.
Seydlitz is looking for like natural pathways, like tall grass areas, woodlands, trenches that would lead through where the enemy line is marked that he could try to sneak through.
Yeah, let's have a roll for it, actually. Let's have you roll me. This is going to be... Let's see. This is going to be a DC... let's call this a DC 6 speed test. You're basically looking for like navigation paths, what you can see as far, what you can expect as far as like game trails and that kind of thing. This will give you a bonus towards your ability to sneak. So a difficulty 6 speed test. Tracking would help. Terrain association would help. I'm not sure what skills off the top of my head you have there.
Well, trial skills and navigation, but those are intelligence based.
No, they're all. I mean, well, skills work for whatever. So if you have navigation, that'll work as well.
But if it's speeds test, I can use my 2 divine shifts. If it's intelligence based, I can't.
Sure. Either way, whichever one you'd like to use. You can. So what I'm saying is you can use navigation as part of this role.
All right. Difficulty 6, 2 divine shifts. That's down to 4. And can I count it as speed so I can use my speed as my effort pool?
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
No.
Trained
I
effort.
re-roll that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend XP to re-roll that.
Tough roll.
I know. Wow. The dice hate me.
Do you want to re-roll
No.
that?
That's my. I have 1 more XP.
I know you have 1 more XP.
Shit.
G, Chris.
I have no XP.
Well, do you think I should use my last one?
On this is your information to get out of the city safely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I should then.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, dude. I would agree.
I mean, the other choice is that you don't leave the city.
Yeah, we need that.
But that GM intrusion's a little
The
You
last
don't
thing
even
you
get
need
cool
is
XP for it.
the last thing you need is a free
There
GM
we go.
intrusion. There you go. Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah. So you note the terrain. You basically make a map of where you can go. You mark the footpaths. You mark what you know as game trails. Like you basically compare this royal topography with what you know in your head, with what maps you have from like hunting, and you sort of make a even better master map of the area and sort of plot your path. The only thing you are missing from this is the exact troop positioning. However, you can sort of learn that one on the job, as it were. Cool. So that will be a bonus in the future when you try to escape. So we see Mina and Korax are outside in the main foyer, shortly joined by Seydlitz as Antares stands atop the stairs. At the bottom of the stairs of the castle are 34 Knights of Reconciliation. Darian Hargens, the 35th, at its head. All take a knee as Antares stands at the top of the stairs. They all seem to be waiting for something to happen, and the rest of the castle attendants are sort of looking on, mystified about what is going on here. G, as you approach.
Yeah. She stands at the top of the steps and she looks down at them. And she says, "Rise, brothers, please stand."
There's a brief hesitation, and Darian is the first to stand, and he sort of mutters something back, and you see the rest of them hoist themselves up.
I never thought I'd be standing here. As I'm sure I'm pretty sure all of you would agree that you never imagined yourselves standing here either. And I'm not one good with words. And I just want to say thank you. Your pledge means the world to me. And I will not let you down. And the one thing that I've learned, that the path to redemption is never a straight line. We have a lot to atone for. And our journey is going to be filled with missteps, lessons learned, and suffering. But there will also be care and compassion. So trust your path. Know that the success or failure of your deeds does not add up to the sum of your life. Judge yourself by the intentions of your actions and by the strength with which you face the challenges standing in your way. And I will be here with you every step of the way. And she bows to them. And she reveals her nimbus to everybody.
You see several people in the crowd are sort of aghast that there is a visible nimbus. There is a low roar begins to like slowly swirl through the crowd, and like in unison, in practice unison, all of the Knights of Redemption salute or bow. Whatever is the customary, whatever you did. So they all bow in the same manner as you did, as if mirroring you. And then they rise to their feet, and you see these 35 faces staring back at you. Helmets removed. You see 35 people, where once were 35 faceless, killers, god killers, essentially, all staring back at you, as if a symbol for redemption, a symbol for a possible future, a new hope. The Darian turns on his heel. He says something that sort of washes away with the crowd to his forces, and they respond in kind, and they are dismissed and dispatched to other parts of the city. He walks up the stairs towards you, and again he stops like 2 or 3 stairs before you, and he sort of kneels. He kneels down on one knee, with like an arm across the bent knee, and he says, "This means everything. to us, and we appreciate you for making this speech and allowing us into your care.
Well, we wouldn't be standing here without you and your knight's help. So I'm in just as much debt to you. And she'll step back down to him and offer her hand.
He takes your hand and he stands up and he says, "Then I suggest we turn the tides of this war."
Let's do it. And she grins at him.
He smiles back and he says, "By your leave." And he sort of nods to you and he heads off to wherever he is needed in the moment, leaving all of you sort of standing there, ready to hear Seydlitz's plan for getting out of the city. The crowd begins to disperse. You can tell that the rumor mill is already swelling. It's in full churn as people disperse around the castle and into the city, a buzz of what just happened, leaving the normal hubbub of the castle back as it was, and the four of you sort of standing there in the foyer. You see that atop the balcony above the grand staircase is the queen in all her elegance, just sort of looking over this random procession, this impromptu procession that happened in front of her castle. She looks down, catches your eye and Terry's, and just sort of smiles, and you see her head sort of turn and the rest of her body follows as she rotates her snake form back into her quarters, leaving the four of you to discuss Seydlitz's plan.
Yeah, she'll make her way over to them.
Corax is standing sort of almost to attention, but not super
At ease.
military. Yeah, and as she arrives, he sort of does a half bow.
Stop
Definitely
that.
changed. Not like a full Your Majesty bow, just sort of an acknowledgement.
Okay.
Definitely improved. Definitely not the god of death, killing.
Well,
Good to see.
yes, better redemption than vengeance. So, and she claps him on the shoulder with a firm hand.
He just smiles.
All right. Mina, are you ready for this?
Yep.
All right.
Corax looks. I might have a better distraction.
Oh, thank God.
You want it over
Aw.
where? Where do you want your distraction?
Southgate.
Southgate.
Southgate it is. All right, Mina, if this fails, over to you. When do you want it?
When the sky is darkest.
It'll be pretty obvious.
Then
If I've read it right, it's going to be pretty obvious when it starts.
Then let us do it at midnight.
Done.
The witching hour, as it's called.
You're sure you're gonna be able to make it? She says to Seydlitz.
50%.
All right.
I would keep that amulet in your hand. And if anything happens, just activate it, get back. Don't take a risk.
Seydlitz takes the amulet and kind of wraps it around his wrist in a way where he can just basically grab a chain and use it when he needs it, but it's like not like dangling or anything.
All right.
A bit of lag here.
You're muted, Mike.
I sure am, guys. The plan is that there's going to be a distraction. Seydlitz is going to abscond over the walls and search for information. Corax, what's this distraction that you got going on here, buddy?
Right. So in the time up until midnight,
Mhm.
Korax is going to focus, and he is going to put all of his divine shifts into the Grimoire of Dreams.
Okay.
And he is going to leave them there until the end of the war, making all of his godly things a bit more difficult. And he is going to cast.
Oh, you're gonna leave him there forever.
He's going to leave them there for the war.
So for the war.
So,
yeah. Okay. For the
for the
foreseeable
rest of the
future.
war.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he is going to cast one of the highest level spells in there called Dragon's Maw. He creates a hovering phantasmal construct of magic within long range that resembles a dragon's head.
Okay. Yeah. So fantastic. I I need some role here. You create this. No, I take it back. I don't need a role. I'm a liar. I forgot how this game works, and I forgot how streaming works. Fantastic. You do this. Describe to me this ginormous dragon head that exists outside of the South Gate. I assume, like, over the top of the South Gate. You describe to me what position and what this thing looks like, what it does to form a distraction for Seydlitz.
So is long range from the gate enough to get it at or above the army that's there?
No. No, that would be extreme range.
Okay. He's going to bring it as high as he can above and towards them outside of the gates. And he sort of stands in the gate. If we remember our way all the way back to episode 1, where the bibliomancer stood in the gateway as it was closing. Korax stands in a similar position right at the gate. He pulls out his book, flicks through the pages to one that's quite far through, and he starts to read words that finally make sense to him as he does. The book starts to glow a bluey purple from his usual blues to more of a purple because it's magic he's not used to.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of the gate, a gigantic dragon's head just appears. Well, not gigantic, a huge dragon's head appears as far and as high as he can, glowing in the sky.
Okay. What does it look like?
A big dragon's head, Mike.
What type of dragon?
Thanks.
Well,
10 out of 10 description,
It's the dragon in the
Chris.
background.
Well done. Solid use
I
of
got one point.
all of you. Yeah. No, thanks. Thank you for that that descriptive journey we just went on. Outstanding.
Sorry, Mike.
So, like a dragon. So you do.
And weirdly, it's just the head.
Yeah. You extend your hand out. The dragon edifice is created. Cool. Here's what happens. Corruption bar. Sick.
you.
Thanks for everybody. You create this massive dragon, and whether it is maybe you weren't thinking, maybe it's just stored in the back of your mind, maybe it doesn't, but people think it does, whatever. This dragon, for all intents and purposes, the head of it at least, since that's all there is, looks strikingly similar to the last magical dragon head you saw, which was the one encircling the city, symbolizing the attack from the dragon herself. Whether this is just stored in the back of your head and that's just the image you cast forward, who knows? But you create this. And while the queen was aware of a distraction, the distraction happened very quickly and there was not time to disseminate this warning through the city. You hear screams erupt in the city as everyone can see this massive dragon head. The city erupts in
Outside,
chaos.
just saying.
Right, outside the city. The other one was above the city, so it was also technically outside. The city erupts in slowly. A cacophony builds up as a wave as the city inside is growing with fear about what is happening here. As a corruption point, I am moving the invisible morale counter one step towards hopeless. because they now saw this symbol of attack, a symbol of the dragon again. However, a similar but different effect happens on the troops outside, the reanimated troops. You see a growing movement of like darkness just to shift and move over these troops as horns are sounded. You hear like there's a few flares pop up in front as they are amassing troops towards the center for what they believe to be some sort of magical assault. That being said, Seydlitz, a distraction has been created for you. You have a +1 for the roll to get the hell out of here and hide. What are you doing? How are you getting over the walls? Where are you going?
Seydlitz has his predetermined path from what he found on the map,
Mhm.
and he's going to stick to that path. And he's got his big old rope that he got a bunch of ropes tied together. He's just gonna do a slide down. He's got like a cloth that he's gonna basically slide down along the rope with, kind of like a rappel.
Okay.
Budget medieval rappelling.
Yeah, like a low budget rappel. I like it. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to need here is a stealth roll of some kind. This will be speed. You have one asset for the distraction. You have one asset for knowledge of the paths that you found. So that is 2 assets from that. This will be a difficulty 7 speed test.
Go. You're muted.
Yes, I am. 7, 2 assets, that's down to 5.
Yep.
Well, 2 divine shifts, that's down to 3.
Yep.
And I can put a maximum of 3 effort into this.
Great.
But
So you still have to roll, just to see if it's a 1. But the number you have to beat is 0. So
Just don't roll a 1.
just don't roll a 1. Yeah.
Don't say that.
No, I can say it all
just
the
so
time.
I'm actually only going to put 2 effort so I don't kill my speed pool.
Okay. Cool. So then you
So,
need to roll a 3.
As long as I
or
roll
higher.
at least a 3.
Yep.
But now that I've said that. Okay.
15. Perfect. You slide down this rope. You slink between the troops. You find like the perfect spots to hide in bushes and shrubs and little gullies as the troops pass around you. And you are able to sneak behind enemy lines. You have your amulet of the Far Traveler in hand. Where are you going, and what is your goal here?
Oh wait, I was trained on that, so it was a 0 even with 2 effort.
There you go. What is your goal here? Where are you trying to get to?
I'm trying to get behind the enemy lines, and I'm looking for their base camp.
Okay, fantastic. Easy enough, right? So you've done that. You've stealthily gotten behind the enemy lines. You sort of weave your way south towards the Krakens, right? Not exactly like to the Krakens themselves, but in that direction, because you know that the main pathway for reinforcement, the best pathway for troop movement, etc., would be through Sia's Cleft, whether she chooses a stance of neutrality or not. You do know that the forces went through the other part, the more dangerous parts of the mountains. But you imagine that that's where their base camp would be, and you begin to head to an area where you see a large tent city. You see a bunch of tents. You see some much larger than others. You see like horse stables. You see like the lizard creature stables as well. And you see what looks to be a logistics post here, where at least if not the main command, at least a commander of some kind is in authority here. Some sort of captain, like the one you shot at, perhaps. some sort of leadership is here. You see that there is troop movement here. They are not moving to rush towards the gate. They are on their own guard. You are still very stealthed, so that's totally fine. What are you doing when you get to this observation post?
I'm trying to discern which one is like their communications tent. Like, where do the runners go to for their information?
You see a larger, like there's a larger like platform with like a built up, sort of like tent on wood. Like it's definitely still a tent, but there you can see they've clear cut some trees around here to like sort of build up an actual structure underneath this tent. It is the largest structure in the area, and you assume that that is the command tent, where all information must eventually pass through that area. You see that there are two halberd bearing humanoids, human men standing in armor outside of the tent flap. Isn't like a flap; it's like propped up on two sticks, so it kind of like it has like an overhang. But you see there are two halberd, pretty nasty looking halberd bearing soldiers outside that tent door. And you can see like almost that like almost cartoony, like it's backlit. You can see there's like fires and torches inside there, and you can kind of see movement happening inside the tent as if there are possible several people in here.
Seydlitz is going to. You say it's like the trees have been cleared, but have they been like fully cleared, like, or are there like trees behind the tent, or?
The trees around this area have been clear cut. So there are no trees behind the tent. The whole area has sort of been flattened, to make space for this.
Is there like a path I could take to get to around the back of this command tent without being seen?
Sure.
That's what Seydlitz is going to do, and I'm going to attempt to climb up onto the wood platform to the backside, because there's got to be like a small ledge there, because
yeah. So you move behind this tent as quickly and as quietly as you possibly can, and you are able to pull yourself up onto this wooden platform and sort of get higher up onto the series of like wooden like banisters and platforms here at the back of the tent. There are no flaps here, no like windows in the tent. You could cut a hole through it if you wanted to get in there, but
Seydlitz was going to take a bolt from his crossbow and poke a small hole in the back so he could peek in to see what's inside.
Great. Yeah, you drill this thing in there, and you can see there is a long white-haired man in some sort of armored finery. It's not like royal finery or anything like that, but it does, from the back of it, you do see that at your recollection, it does seem to sort of match the style of the person you shot at. It may not be the same person, but it's absolutely a demarcation of rank. They have no weapons and armor on them. So they have what they're wearing as armor, but like you see a sword, a belt loop, and a sword on the table in front of them. It seems as though no one's expecting people to be here, so they're sort of in a state of undress of arms. And you see this person is pacing, and there are two other people, and beside the two of them on the table, they have full face helmets that sort of have some sort of plumage coming out of the top of them. You assume them to be some sort of ranked military members, and there seems to be a discussion happening about troop movements and future plans and something about artillery, and that's all you get for free. If you want to listen closer, you can make me an intelligence investigation.
Do I see like a table with like a map on it, or like
you do? So
papers for communications?
Yeah, so in front of between this guy, the one you can see the back of, and the other two guys with like the plumage, there is a large table that looks like a makeshift version of the Queen's war council table. You assume that this is what it is. You can actually see like pins with little symbols on them, which you don't know what the symbols mean, but there's pins with symbols on them that are on the map, as if this is some sort of planning board.
All right, I have a plan.
Okay.
Seydlitz is going to sneak around on the side, stay on the top of the tent. Can I see the stables from where I'm at with
Yeah.
the horses?
Yeah, the whole area is not that big.
Can I shoot a bolt across into the stables where I could spook the horses and cause a noise?
I don't see why not. Roll me difficulty 4. Difficulty 4 bullshit. Difficulty 4 speed test.
Can I just use the crossbow roll? Or
yeah, you can do that. It's difficulty 4 crossbow.
Crossbow. I have 1 divine shift in that, so that's a 3. Put another effort into it. That's a 2. All right.
Great. Yeah.
That's a
So
success.
you find your target and you hone in with that crossbow. Bolt looses. You hit it in just the right spot that it went through the leather strop of the bit for the horse, spooking it, but also freeing it from its restraint. And it like bucks back, and you see it kick down the door as it begins to like sort of run, and you see several other guards begin to like chase down this rampaging horse as the other ones inside the stable begin to buck and bray.
How are the people inside the tent reacting?
You look through another little hole that you prick in there, and you see the white-haired one sort of point outside and say something, and the other two run to the door to see what's happening. So there's
Seydlitz
one
is going
person
to
there.
cut the hole
Mm-hmm.
into the tent. He's going to run and shove this guy away from the mat tail, grab that map, like roll it up with all the papers on it, and grab his amulet and teleport back.
You're muted, Mike.
Yeah, he is.
I'm saying, okay, cool. You jump in, shove this guy, grab as much of the map as you can, and teleport back.
With like all the papers and roll it up, grab it, and grab the amulet and teleport.
Outstanding. GM intrusion. If you'd like this, you can take an XP and give one to a friend. If you don't want this, you can spend an XP to stop me. Do you have an XP? No. Great.
No.
So what happens is you get an XP and you can give one to one of your companions. You
have it, the XP.
slice a hole in this. You jump through. You shove this man out of the way. He is obviously confused at what's happening. He shouts. People start to turn around. There is just reckless catastrophe happening inside here. You scoop up as much of this map, kind of rolling it, kind of smashing it together, and then you activate the amulet. You got some of the map. In your haste to grab this thing, it may have been multiple papers. Some of the pins may have fallen off. You do not have a complete enemy's map, is your GM intrusion. You have far more information than you had previously, but it is not a complete picture of the war at hand. You scoop this thing, you can see pins falling off as you do so. You can see some papers slide out of it. You see that as you pull it, some of it gets stuck underneath the helmet of the other two people, and then you activate this thing and poof, you're gone. We'll get back to that. You reappear. I will say you reappear wherever you'd like to, but we'll get back to that.
Into the map chamber.
Perfect.
For council.
Perfect. We cut to back to the castle, where where there is chaos. Chaos has erupted inside the city. We cut to the library, where we see one Corax in his,
Corax isn't in the library.
Corax isn't in the library.
Corax
At the
is
gate.
you're still there? Okay.
Because you said the army was starting to do stuff outside, so he would wait
Okay,
to
cool.
see what chaos he's caused with them.
Great. I love that. I love that for you. The sound of troops mounting a defense and the sound of screams in the city sort of begin to blend together. We got 2 corruption bars this episode, and we got one. Sorry, we got 1 this episode, and we had 1 left over from last episode. And if anyone wants to donate to
Right.
finish off a second one, we can get that going.
Yeah, okay.
So the sound of the screams and the sound of the shouts from either side of the gate sort of blend together as you channel what is arguably the most magical effect you've ever channeled in your life. You are deep within a grimoire that belongs to the King of Night. You are casting the strongest, most powerful spell you have ever cast in your existence, and it is taking quite a bit of energy and effort to maintain this. As the screams and shouts from either side of the gate sort of begin to blend together, you find yourself getting a little weary. Not in danger of dropping the spell, Corax, but you do feel yourself slowing down. It's as if you feel like when you're trapped in a blizzard, right? You feel that like everything seems sluggish and slow, and it's like slowly shutting down, like an old cell phone. And you feel this sort of despair sort of creeping up from the back of your cerebral cortex, just slowly begins to spill its way around your brain, and the screams and shouts blend in together from what were shouts of preparedness and to arms and screams of fear to screams and shouts of agony, and you feel yourself almost forced to your knees, whether it is the effort of the spellcraft or it is the effort of something else. You are forced to your knees at the gate, and anyone around you can see that happen. And you feel your eyes begin to like roll back and get blurry at the edges, and your vision starts to go black. And you hear a noise that cuts between the screams and shouts and the thrum of your own blood pumping through your ears. It is the sound of clicking claws on some sort of stone. And as you try to struggle to regain consciousness, you see standing before you the Rakshasa Queen. She has this a massive chain around her waist that she slowly unfurls and lets drop, and she sort of drags this thing. You see this chain is probably like 6 feet long, connects to nothing, but she tugs it as if something on the end of it is very heavy. And you hear this like noise from somewhere distant. The Rakshasa Queen walks down the stairs to where you are knelt, and she says, "Your time grows small, little man. I want
Told
his
you we
head.
needed time for a war.
The war
The
is
war
well
is
at
starting.
hand.
It's starting. Hasn't started yet. It's about to.
You play your mortal games. Get me his head, or I reclaim yours." And we cut. We see Corax kneeling at the gate, eyes roll back in his head. The vision of the dragon slowly begins to fizzle and fade, as if the last remnants of a fireworks show. And the world sets to darkness, Corax. And that is all we see of you.
Ooh.
And that's where we end this episode of The Rise. Don't worry, guys. There's still so many plots that you have open.
Chris forgot all about the Rakshasa Queen.
Yeah, Mike
I
didn't.
didn't forget
I
about
have
it.
notes.
I didn't.
I have notes on all of you. Don't you worry. That is it for the episode 29 of The Rise. We've been playing this game for 2 years now at this point. We have seen some epic encounters, epic story arcs with these characters. Very, very cool. So, as always, if you guys like what we do here and you want to support the channel, the best way to do it is like these fine folks over on our Patreon. Link for that down below. Join us at the $5 tier. You get access to all of our after shows for the last several years. $10 tier gets you access to behind-the-scenes exclusives, prep streams, cool art, secret journal entries, and other weird things, and previews of things that I'm writing and working on. So there's all kinds of bang for all kinds of bucks. Join us over there. While you're down there, join us in the Discord, be a part of the community, be a part of the conversation, talk about this game, talk about all of our games, talk about whatever the heck you want, within reason. And we'll see you over there. With that, I'll go around, do our introduction so that we can get the hell out of here and do our after show. So we'll start with the Damned. Chris, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
I'm Chris, aka Necro. You can find me in the Discord. Don't do any of the social media. But if you're watching on YouTube, just put a comment and tell me how to kill the Roxasha Queen and not deal with her problems.
Great. Perfect. Next up is the equally damned. Don't worry, we didn't forget about the, your family, you being a murderer, all those kind of things. Norm, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? What are you up to?
I'm Normal Snow. You can find me in the Discord. And that's about it.
Great. Next up, don't worry, we also didn't forget about your mom. G, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
I am G, your friendly neighborhood lightning invoker. You'll find me with all things unMadeGaming, either modding or playing in Patreon games. And next weekend is the next episode of Terror Twilight Age of Always. You'll see Chris and I there. And I'll be in the Discord all the time.
Next weekend is also a one-shot, I believe.
Yes.
We're also doing a one-shot.
Yes.
Perfect. And last but not least, don't worry, we haven't forgot about the family. We've all grown to know and love. Seydlitz, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
I'm Matt or D, and I play as Seydlitz, and you'll find me in the Discord, here in the Patreon campaign, and on the one-shots. That's basically it.
Perfect.
Subscribe to the Patreon, by the way.
Hell yeah, do that. Like we said, we have Atari Twilight Age of Always coming back next weekend. We also have a one-shot for the Patreon one-shot group that will be Glenbrook. It'll be the first time we've been back to Glenbrook in quite some time. We are now in 1986. So if that's your jam, check it out. But that's it from us. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all those corruption bars. We will see you next time for episode 30 of The Rise. So from all of us to you guys, bye-bye.